On October 26, 1978, a garment bag was found buried in a shallow grave in the Nevada desert, 13 miles outside a town called Imlay. Inside the bag was the body of a woman. Inside the bag with her were her clothes, neatly packed as though someone had prepared them for a journey. She was between 40 and 50 years old. She had been there for some time. No identification was found. No missing persons report matched her description. For 44 years, she had no name. In 2023, she got one. Her killer still doesn't. This is the case of Florence Charleston, a woman from Cleveland, Ohio, who moved to Portland, Oregon in the early 1970s, lost contact with her family around 1978, and ended up buried in a remote stretch of Nevada desert in a bag that was never meant to be found. What makes Florence's case different from most cold cases isn't just that it took 44 years to identify her. It's the specific chain of investigative efforts. Dental records, facial reconstructions, FBI clothing analysis, DNA profiling, that each failed in sequence. And the question that identification didn't answer, the one that is still open today: who put her there? I want you to understand the scale of what we're talking about when we discuss unidentified persons cases. The NamUs database, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, is the national repository for missing and unidentified persons records in the United States. Each year, over 600,000 individuals go missing. Many of them are eventually found and identified, but thousands are not. They exist in the database as case numbers, physical descriptions, and dental charts. Florence Charleston was one of them for 44 years. Her case is not a historical curiosity. It is an active homicide investigation. And the person who drove out to Scossa Road on some night in 1978 and buried a woman in a garment bag in the Nevada desert has never faced any consequence for it. On October 26, 1978, the Pershing County Sheriff's Office received information that a reporting party had found a garment bag in a remote area near Scossa Road, approximately 13 miles west of Imlay, Nevada. Imlay is not a city. It is a small, unincorporated community in the high desert of northern Nevada, sitting on Interstate 80 between Reno and Salt Lake City. The area around Scossa Road is remote enough that a buried bag could have remained undiscovered indefinitely. Officers located the remains. A variety of evidentiary items were collected, including the garment bag itself and the women's clothing found inside it. The remains were transferred to Washoe Medical Center in Reno, approximately 130 miles away, where an autopsy was performed. The autopsy confirmed the remains were those of a Caucasian woman, at least 40 years old, 5 feet 5 inches tall, approximately 155 pounds. Due to the heavily decayed condition of the remains, a cause of death could not be determined. She was dressed for something. The clothing found with her, a bluish-green jacket and matching skirt, a white knit sweater, a white t-shirt, was not the clothing of someone who had been living rough. She had been somewhere. She had been going somewhere. The garment bag suggests luggage, travel, a departure that became permanent. Now here is the thing that investigators noticed immediately and could not explain. No one reported her missing. Not in Nevada, not in any adjacent state, not anywhere in the national system at the time. A woman between 40 and 50 years old, dressed in coordinated clothing, packed in a bag as though someone had organized her belongings after her death, and nobody, anywhere, had filed a report that matched her. That absence is not just strange. In a case like this, it is the most important fact. In May 1979, the Pershing County Sheriff's Office requested the investigative assistance of the Nevada Department of Public Safety Investigation Division. Investigators submitted dental records for comparison purposes, completed a facial reconstruction, and worked with the FBI to obtain identifying information from the articles of clothing. A mitochondrial DNA profile was obtained. The case was entered into NamUs as UP17848. Each of these steps represents a significant investigative effort. Dental record comparison requires a match, another file, somewhere, of a woman with the same dental configuration. The facial reconstruction was distributed. The FBI's clothing analysis attempted to trace where the garments were manufactured or sold. Nothing matched. Not one significant lead emerged from any of it. Remember what I told you at the beginning? That no missing persons report matched her description? Here is what that meant in practice for investigators. It meant that the standard identification pathway, someone reports a missing woman, her dental records are on file, the records match the remains, was completely unavailable. The only pathway left was finding someone who recognized the facial reconstruction, who had seen her clothing, who remembered a woman who disappeared from their life around that time and never asked why. Nobody came forward. And here is the detail that makes that silence most difficult to explain. Florence Charleston had family. She had moved from Cleveland to Portland sometime in the early 1970s. Her family knew she existed. They had simply lost contact with her around 1978, and for reasons that have never been fully explained publicly, did not file a missing persons report. The gap between losing contact with someone and reporting them missing is where many unidentified persons cases live. Stop for a moment and hold what you now know. A woman was buried in the Nevada desert in 1978. She had family. She had dental records on file through the investigation. She had a facial reconstruction that was distributed. She had clothing with potential identifying information. She had a DNA profile in a national database. For 44 years, none of it produced a result. In March 2022, investigators with the Nevada Department of Public Safety, along with NamUs, enlisted the assistance of Othram, a forensic genealogy laboratory based in the Woodlands, Texas. Othram's scientists used forensic-grade genome sequencing to develop a comprehensive DNA profile. Their in-house genealogy team used the profile to develop investigative leads, which were returned to law enforcement. The technology that identified Florence Charleston in 2023 did not exist when she was found in 1978. It barely existed in functional form before 2019. The 44-year gap between her death and her identification is not a story of investigative failure alone. It is a story of what forensic science could not yet do, and what it finally could. Investigators determined that the unidentified woman was Florence Charleston of Cleveland, Ohio. A subsequent investigation revealed that Charleston had moved to Portland, Oregon sometime in the early 1970s, and family members lost contact with her around 1978. She had a name, she had a city she came from, she had people who had known her, and the investigation into her death remains open. Florence Charleston's case is now two cases simultaneously. The first, her identity, is closed. The second, her murder, because someone placed her in that bag and buried her in that desert, is not. The Nevada State Police Investigation Division is still actively investigating. The question of who drove out to Scossa Road on some night in 1978 is unanswered. The question of how Florence Charleston came to be 13 miles west of Imlay, Nevada in a garment bag has no official answer. What forensic genealogy gave Florence was her name. It did not give her justice. At the beginning of this video, I told you that in 2023, she finally got a name. Her killer still doesn't. 44 years as a case number, then a name, then silence again. A different kind this time, but silence. Florence Charleston, Cleveland, Ohio, Portland, Oregon, Scossa Road, Nevada. If you have any information about Florence Charleston or the circumstances of her death, contact the Nevada State Police Investigation Division at 775-684-7456. That number is in the description. The case is still open. The NamUs database link for this case is in the description. If you want to see the next case, it's already there.